Hey guys, Alex from Board Game Co over here, and boy do we have a busy week coming up. We have Kemet Blood and Sand, which is this video right here. We have Come On Comics, Nemesis, and then the usual Kickstarter roundups that we'll be going over, and we'll see which ones get their own dedicated videos, but I'll tell you this much, Kemet certainly is, and Nemesis you can bet will have its own video. That little bit aside, let's just jump into it. Kemet Blood and Sand hit Kickstarter today, and it's already at $287,000 of their $81,000 goal, although that's converted. But it's 20 days to go, and they've clearly knocked it out of the park. This is a game that gets a lot of love, and I know why, because I love it a lot. So I'm just going to jump into a few different subsections of this video. First of all, I'll give a quick overview of Kemet, my own opinion of the Kickstarter, and then of course, is it worth it? Should you back it? Should you not? So the first background is Kemet is a action-packed, fighting. Let me get a little picture of the map here. Here we go. Kemet is an action-packed attacking board game in which you are constantly just at each other's throats, fighting for victory. You go play a few rounds, you see whoever gets the most points. You can play to 10 points, you can play to 8 points, and see who basically wins with the most victory points. The catch is that you get victory points through a variety of ways, but one of those ways is by attacking other players, which makes it very aggressive. This is no turtling down in Australia risk game. This is a game where you are smashing into each other's faces all the time. But where Kemet really shines, where Kemet brings its own flair to the table, is this whole array of power tiles that all players have access to buying that will create your own separate, unique version of, how asymmetric the game will become as you develop your own asymmetry through the course of play. Through buying different power tiles, whether you buy a bunch of aggressive, offensive red power tiles, a bunch of blue defensive power tiles, the white economy, or the black, a little bit of everything in it. And it's those power tiles that really bring Kemet its shine, its spark. It's what makes you feel so amazing as you play this game. Kemet is in my top 20 games of all time. It used to be my top 10. Blood Rage is a game that overtook it, giving me most of the same feeling, but with drafting, and I prefer the drafting. I think Blood Rage is a slightly more elegant game, whereas Kemet did have its flaws. It did have these ways that someone could kind of get a victory in that felt a little cheaty. Different combinations of power tiles, or even just the turn order in the end of the round. And that kind of leads us into why we have Kemet Blood and Sand, or at least one of the reasons why. Just a quick note, if you look, I'll link it up above, but I did do a comparison of Kemet, Cyclades, and Innis where I go more into detail, but this is more about the Kickstarter, so I will not go into more into detail. Now, Kemet Blood and Sand. Kemet Blood and Sand, one of the reasons they're coming out with it, well, one of the reasons is money. Money is always helpful, and this is a popular game with a reprint. That's a good reason. But on top of that, there is that aspect of, there were elements of Kemet that I just touched upon briefly that sometimes felt unbalanced. And so they took this rule set that has been slowly been worked on both by the community and the designers over time, and they came out with Kemet Blood and Sand, which combines Kemet and the first expansion into one big box Kickstarter that you can, have fun with. Now, Kemet does have another expansion, Seth, which is a one versus many module. I understand why they're not including that in here. Speaking for myself, I found Seth was a very different experience and not one I felt the need to go back for. Versus Tassetti, which is the included expansion here, was an excellent expansion that just added more of the same. It did add a priest track, which I kind of felt was unnecessary. I don't believe they have that in here. It doesn't seem like it so far. But ultimately, they give you more power tiles and more stuff. And this really does seem to be giving you the best of Kemet and Tassetti. Now, so my own opinion of the Kickstarter. Let's jump into that. My own opinion of the Kickstarter is I'm very torn. Before we get into the value proposition, this is a personal note, a personal aspect of how I feel about the design, the art, the miniatures, all that stuff. So to begin with, Kemet is a game that was broken that they're fixing. I hear and understand that, but my copy is in the top 20 games of all time for my list, and that's with being broken and everything. So while I'm not averse to potential fixes, I tend to be very wary of games that get fixes that weren't really that broken. Again, there are elements that are broken. It's not coming from nowhere. It's not like they're picking a game with no criticisms and making it better. Rather, they're picking a game with minor criticisms and hopefully making it better. So I'm always wary of that, because that can go either direction. Kemet Blood and Sand could be the next evolution of Kemet, an incredible game, an amazing game, or it could be Kemet but worse. That is possible, and it's something you should be very aware of before you jump into this Kickstarter. In terms of the art and miniatures, let's go down to it. So art, off the bat, let's see if we can find some of the art here. The miniatures are fine. The art is fine, but I'm not being blown away by either of these, at least not yet. So you can see these power tiles. Now, if you are someone who has Kemet, speaking for myself, I feel they lose a little bit of charm, and I feel that way about many aspects of the redesign. The board I do like. I think that the board is nice. It adds it's nothing that drastically different, but I do appreciate the new board design versus the power tiles and the DI cards and all the not the miniatures, but the DI cards, the special battle cards. They feel like they flatten them in a way that I don't really love, honestly. I mean, over here you can see Kemet's original battle tiles, power tiles. And you can see how, I mean, I don't know if you can go back and forth that easily in this and see the difference, but over here they have a slight cartoonish look to them that I really like. It's not cartoonish, it's just a slight bit of 3Dness going on, versus it looks like they majorly flattened them in this art design, and the icons don't look as great. The top corner is basically the same, but the icons look flattened. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but when I'm coming from my copy of Kemet that I know and love, I'm honestly a little bit wary about this new graphic design to Kemet. I'm a little wary of the fact that I'll be taking a game and a design that I love and going a step back on the power tiles and the DI cards and the battle cards. Now, I will say for the record, this would not be the first nor the last time that I have been wary about a design, but it has come to grow on me over time. Sometimes we get familiar with what we know, we get familiar with what we like, and we're just wary of change, and that's very much the case here. Very much the case here that I'm totally wary of change, and I like what I have, and I'm a little worried about that. Miniature quality looks fine. It looks like an improvement. It looks like a step in the right direction. But it was, again, the old stuff wasn't bad, and the new stuff isn't, Awakened Realms level, Command level, or pick whatever your favorite miniature company is. It looks Mythic Games. It looks like the miniature quality is a step up from the original, but not a huge step up, and it's not bringing it into modern miniatures or whatever you want to call it. Rather, it's just a minor step up. Again, not against it. That Snake looks cool. The revised Mummy, there seem to be minor steps in the right direction. But again, keep in mind as well, these are renders. These are 3D renders. These are not actual minis. So for all we know, they'll be the same or worse. We don't know what we're really getting here, and it seems like it might be a step up, but it's not certain by any means. So that's my own opinion. My own opinion is I am reluctantly interested. Oh, sorry, one more thing I forgot. These pyramids are awesome. That's great. I'm very happy with the pyramids. They have these tiered pyramid levels that instead of the original die, which you would rotate to the 1, 2, 3, 4, they give you these actual pyramid structures that you can slowly construct over the course of the game. That's awesome. That's a great step in the right direction. We'll see how the final product comes out, but I love the color aspect to it. I love the little one step 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm very happy with the pyramids. That's a great step. And again, by the way, these player boards, same problem. Player boards look slightly flattened. It looks like they took all the greatness of the original and not greatness. They took all the art of the original and slightly flattened the design aspect in a way that's certainly not bad, but is also not to my personal preference. So yeah, again, to sum that up, I am interested in the game. I am wary of changes to the rules of a game that I love. I am wary of changes to the art in a game that I love the art currently. And the miniatures are, possibly a step in the right direction. So is all of that worth paying $76 plus shipping for? Because that's ultimately what it's going to be. For assuming you're American or whatnot, assuming you're going for the God pledge, it's going to be $76 for the pledge. And then your shipping is going to be, depending on where you are, depending if you're in the US, Canada, wherever, even the US at the cheapest tier, for this pledge, you're talking about around $18 or somewhere in that range. So how does that price stack up? Is it a good price? Is it a bad price? Let's talk about it. So offhand, the first comparison I can give you is regular Kemet. Kemet is $45 plus the expansion Tassetti is $28 for a total of $73. That's if you want to buy it on Amazon right now, this would cost you $73. So $76 for the newer, updated version, you could make the argument it's a good deal, you can make the argument it's not. Now keep in mind, it doesn't have all the aspects of Tassetti, so you have to factor that in. But it does have its own other things that's adding, like those pyramids, like the new miniatures or whatnot. It is upgrading the overall component quality and giving you a new rule set. So that price on its own, I'm fine with. But this is usually where things come into play, which is you have a decent price, but you have to factor in shipping, which you would otherwise not later down the road. And additionally, in addition to factor in shipping, you have to gamble that what they've done here is improve the game. They probably have. It's a safe, I want to say it's a safe bet, but it's not really a safe bet. It's not the worst risk, let's put it that way. So is that worth it to you? And this is where it comes to the stretch goals. Are there going to be stretch goals? Is the game Kickstarter exclusive? Are you getting anything extra? Let's talk about that. So, exclusive-wise, they have said pretty clearly that they do not plan on making anything exclusive, but the stretch goals will not be in the retail copy. The stretch goals will be sold in limited quantities on their own website, at cons, or whatever. So nothing is inherently exclusive, but it's really those stretch goals that will determine the value proposition here. Because ultimately, so far you're just paying $20 extra to get a game that may or may not be better, and you're doing it a year in advance, and you're relying on the fact that everything's going to go swimmingly, and you can get this at retail later. This is not a game that you can't get at retail. They will be bringing it to retail. It's not a Kickstarter exclusive game, so is it worth risking it? Is it worth taking that plunge? And that really will come down to the stretch goals. Right now they have a Sacred Bull, they have a bunch of game aids, which are super awesome. I will admit, I'm excited about the game aids. I amount of times have to print out copies of all the powers in Kemet, just so everyone can read what's going on. It can be frustrating. They have another night ceremony tile, they have a scoring track, they have some few more things planned over here. And we have 20 days to go. We have 20 days to see what kind of value this game is going to give. What kind of extras are they going to give you for risking everything on them and paying the $20. I mean, in the FAQ, and this is, people talk, well, I'll come to it in a second. So over here they have, why support the Kickstarter campaign instead of waiting for retail? Because you support us and the game you love. That should always be the first reason. That's a terrible reason. That's an absolutely horrible reason. This is a company out to make money. I have no problem with companies making money. I own a company, we try to make money. That's how things work. But you should never support us because you should support us and the game you love. No, you should support us because we gave you a good reason to back it. I mean, I know I got a lot of flack for my CMON video where I defended CMON, and it wasn't defending CMON, it was thinking they're wrong without overly going into it. But I'm not pro big company or whatever, it's just the opposite. Whether you are a small company or a big company, I believe you should deliver a reason to back. I believe you should give people a reason to give you money a year in advance and take the risk that everything will be good. I don't yet know if Matago is doing that here. I don't know. It really will depend on the stretch goals that they have. To what extent are they giving you enough that you're actually getting a good value here or not? Right now, I currently put a day one back in because they had a thing where everyone's gonna get larger miniatures. So I put in a day one back. But I have it snoozed right now to cancel this pledge if the stretch goals don't line up in a way that makes me feel confident of my decision here. As usual, I will update that. I'll update both in the comments in this video. I'll update it in my Kickstarter roundups. You can subscribe down below if you want to see all my Kickstarter roundups, where I generally talk about what decisions I've made in terms of updates to previous videos and why, so you can subscribe for that. But I will talk about Kemet. My assumption, if I had to guess, my assumption is that I will be backing it. If day one they already have 3 or 4 small stretch goals, if over the next 20 days we can knock that up to 15, 20, 4, 5, 6 extra miniatures, those things can really be worth it in the end and might push me from a maybe kind of whatever into a solid back. As of right now, I have a pledge backed. I am planning on backing it, but I definitely am fully willing to back out of this if they don't give me a reason to back by the end of this campaign. I don't support companies because I love them. I don't support companies because I love the game. I support companies because it's a win-win. Because you sold me a product that was a good value, I paid for that product and got a good value, and everyone benefited. That is why I back board games. That's why I buy board games. That's how the decisions process I make in all these games. And that's basically it. That is Kemet Blood and Sand in my opinion for right now. We have 20 days to go. We'll see how it plays out. I will have another video coming up shortly on CMON Comics. I currently plan on waiting on that one. I thought I was going to be doing a day one video for that. As of right now, I do not plan on doing a day one video because I really want to see a lot more before I give an opinion there. As of right now, day one, I just don't have enough information to really give a solid anything except for a maybe. I plan on waiting to see how it plays out. But so if you're expecting that video day one, just an update, you can probably expect it in 3 or 4 days as we know a bit more about the campaign. Other than that, this is Alex from Board Game Co. You can subscribe down below, like this video, comment, let us know if you are backing Kemet Blood and Sand. If so, why yes, why not? Do you have Kemet? Do you love Kemet? And also, something I'm very intrigued to see, I want to see if they're going to do this with Cyclades and Innis as well. Because once they have this one big box expansion, especially if it does well, which at $290,000, it's doing well on day one. So if it does well, I can bet that the people who want money, which again, I do not fault wanting money, I'm all for it. but those people are going to want to use this as an opportunity to also make a version of Cyclades and Innis. Why not make people want all those deluxified editions? There's less of a reason to, because there's less rules changes and rules adjustments, but it's very likely that, especially considering how well this is doing, it's very likely that over the next few years, we will see big box deluxified versions of those as well. What do you think? Let me know, or did you already know that they plan on doing that and I just missed the announcement? Anyways, until next time, I'm Alex, and I will see you later.